I'm looking at my old deuce gear from back in the 80s and early 90s. And actually this gear was used by the Marine Corps and some of it was used by the Army. Good Lord, I guess maybe late 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s. So it has a long life. But this is the deuce gear or the load bearing equipment that I wore for most of my time in the Marine Corps. And I thought we'd look at it and then compare it to some more modern choices that I've compiled to make a modern version of what we call 782 gear. So my time in the Marine Corps was in the 80s and 90s. And as I said, this is the gear that I was issued. And we called it deuce gear, which was short for 782 gear. 782 gear came from the form that you actually filled out. It was a little card. It was the 782 card, or maybe it was form 782, I don't recall. But that's how the Marine Corps knew this. I think the Army called it LBE or something like that, load bearing equipment. Not real sure. And this is pretty much the same stuff that the Army was issued with a few slight differences. The biggest difference, we'll cover the difference first, was this. To my knowledge, the Army was not regularly issued the first aid kit. We didn't call them IFAKs back then. We just called them first aid kits. So this is a Marine Corps first aid kit. And it was issued to all Marines, and it would sit right there where you see the butt pack. The butt pack wasn't issued to every Marine. It was issued, to my understanding, to combat arms. I was in artillery, and then I was in EOD. Artillery is part of combat arms, and I was issued this butt pack. So you would usually, because you had a butt pack, you would usually put your first aid kit either inside the butt pack, or you would attach it right here to this handhold and carry it around like that. That's how I usually carried it. But the butt pack was not issued to everybody. Now this butt pack is not pristine. I have obviously done some of my Franken stitching to it. I have over the years, because this is all the gear I used. It's just that I messed with it. And I've taken the metal buckles off and put plastic Fastex buckles, and up here I've put plastic buckles, probably because some metal ones broke or something like that. But this is the old style. Well, not the real old style. I guess they used to have canvas, but this is the style that I was issued. And then next to them would be two canteens. Usually we were issued one canteen with an NBC cap and one without. This is just what I happen to have. I hate canteens. I don't use them anymore. In my experience, they are hard to clean and easy to get dirty. And so I don't use them anymore. These are just, I actually got them for this video from the thrift store for $1.50 a piece. But and inside inside one of the canteen pouches would be a canteen cup. And I have one of those around here somewhere. So there you go, the canteen cup. And this is one of my old ones. I don't have but one or two of these left. And this is the kind I was issued. And you can see the handle back then flapped up like that and then nested underneath it. And that was a much sturdier handle than those newer ones. I guess the last ones they issued, which had the little flap handles coming off the side. Because this one, and I will tell you, it's hard to put in one-handed, but this one was very firm, and you could hang it off your belt if you had to. Now we were issued one of these, but in the know, Marines always procured another one, so you always carried two. One was to drink out of and one was to eat out of, because even though we were issued those mess kits, those Boy Scout looking mess kits, nobody used that crap. Nobody. Even when we had sea rats, which when I first came in, we still had sea rats. You got a spoon in a sea rat box, and then later in the MREs, you didn't mess with those. Yeah, you just didn't mess with those things. if you had to cook something or if they brought chow to the field, you got it in this. And that's just, unless they made you do it, which sometimes they would be doing these exercises where you had to, the chow hall would be in the exercise, so they would come out and serve so many meals, during the exercise, just so they could get training. Then you had to have all the crap, and then they had the immersion set garbage cans with the hot water in and all that crap. And if you were in, you remember that stuff. But most of the time, we ate out of these things, and heated our food over those little purple sweet tart things, and that's how we ate in the field. So next is the M16 magazine holder. Now you'll notice, if you're prior service, you'll notice that I am missing on both of these. I am missing the grenade pouch. These things came with a grenade pouch on each side of them, and I'm missing them because I took them off. I still use these. I think these are great magazine holders, and they're especially great on a pack. If you want to carry extra ammo on a pack, on the outside of a pack, this is a great way to carry it. And they're not terrible on modern deuce gear, not at all. So so I still use those, but I got rid of the grenade pouches because they just got in the way, because I have a hard time getting grenades these days. So that's why I did that. But normally they would have a grenade pouch on each side of them. And that's how we did that. That is how we wore our belt. If you were a regular Marine and you carried a rifle, this is what you were issued, and this is how you carried it. Moving up to the suspenders, we were issued this little pouch, which is kind of a general purpose pouch. And I say that because to the Army, this was a first aid pouch. But it was not a first aid pouch to the Marine Corps. To the Marine Corps, it was a compass pouch. As I said before, the Army wasn't issued this. So their idea of a first aid pouch, my understanding, if any of you doggies out there correct me, is they would put a dressing, chicken laid an egg. They would put a dressing in here and call that a first aid pouch. And they may have worn it up here, they may have worn it down here. That's I don't know about that, but we called it a lensatic compass pouch, and that's what went in there. And then the other thing we were issued was this giant honking elbow flashlight, and we usually wore it up there if we wore it, or we would stick it inside of our butt pack. And what else went in the butt pack? Well, you would put your chow in there, you would put your poncho liner in there. If it was in the wintertime, you might put a field jacket liner in there. Those were wonderful. And that's pretty much all you would put in there, usually. But that made up a normal Marine Corps issue LBE or 782 gear. Now, some of you may look at this extra space here on the belt and say, well, why wasn't there stuff up there? Well, the ammo pouch very often did go up there, but the convening wisdom was that you kept the front fairly empty so that you could it wouldn't get in your way if you were having to get down low or doing anything in front of you. And depending on what your duties were, that may have changed. The Marine Corps, at least in my experience, was very lenient with how you wore your gear, as long as you wore your gear in the field. Of course, in garrison, the Marine Corps has no leeway on uniform or uniformity, and as it should be. But in the field, we pretty much wore our gear the way we wanted to. And you might say, well, these mag pouches only hold 3 mags, so that's a total of 6. Why not wear extra mag pouches? And you could, and some folks did. Matter of fact, I would see some people take the saw pouch, if they can get a hold of an extra one, and they would turn that into a 6-round magazine pouch. But the fact was, in training and at exercises, you only wore what you had to wear. If you were deploying for real, yeah, you'd procure, once again that word, whatever you could. Understand that all of this is based on my experiences And if you'd like to learn more and get the true scoop, here's a couple really good books that I can recommend, especially if you're a collector, which I'm not. I have a problem. I wouldn't call myself a collector. I'm a gear whore. But if you like learning more about it, these are two great books. Of course, the Osprey books are wonderful, no matter what it is. And then this one here, Europa Militario. Very good books on the gear, when it came out, who it was issued to, how it was used, and stuff like that. All right, so there you have it. There's my take on the 782 gear, or LBE, that I was issued, that we were issued in the Marine Corps, 70s, 80s, early 90s. Now, I'd like to show you my take on an improvement, my modern version of this gear. And that's going to be in the next video.